Hello and welcome to Anime Between the Lines, the show where I think way too much about stuff in anime. Why am I making this series? Well, two reasons. One, I started noticing a lot of parallels between stuff in anime and stuff in real life. The second reason? Well, easy. Now I get to rip off two people way more talented than I am. Okay, so I just watched the second Pokemon movie for the first time since I was 7 or something, and I think I have a fan interpretation that might blow your guys' minds. So here it is. Ready for your minds to be blown? Pokemon 2000, The Power of One, is actually an allegory for the inevitable World War III. Still skeptical? Well, hear me out on this one. For those of you who don't know, the events of Pokemon 2000 are set in motion when a collector named Lawrence III disturbs the natural balance between the three legendary birds, Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres. The ensuing carnage threatens to destroy the entire world unless a chosen one can wake up Lugia, the legendary Sea Guardian, to stop them. Alright, so now that we're all caught up, let me break it down like this. Much like the Battle of the Legendary Birds, many experts think that World War III would destroy all life on Earth. But that's a bit of a stretch, I hear you saying. Lots of movies deal with the potential destruction of the world. Well, much like Pokemon 2000, many experts also believe that World War III will have three main superpowers: Russia, America, and China. I think the connections can go even further, enough to link each nation with its own bird. Now let's start with the most obvious one, Zapdos. Now the creators have been pretty clear that Zapdos is based off the Native American Thunderbird. The Thunderbird was said to be so large that when it flapped its wings it created the sound of thunder. Much like how Zapdos' Pokédex entry states that whenever it flaps its wings, thunderstorms appear. So I think it's safe to assume that Zapdos in this analogy represents the United States. Alright, next let's go over Moltres. Moltres is obviously based off the phoenix, or, alternatively, the Chinese phoenix, the Feng Huang. So you could say that Moltres represents China. Now Articuno is a bit harder to pin down. Articuno is based off the Simurgh... Simorgh? Yeah, we'll just go with Simorgh. The Simorgh, much like Articuno, lived in a cave in the middle of the ocean. Unlike Articuno, though, it also had the head of a dog and the claws of a lion. That being said, later depictions of the Simorgh made it look kinda like this, which, as you can see, is pretty close to the Articuno we know and love. Now, for those of you familiar with the mythology of the Simorgh, that is to say all three of you, you'll probably be saying, but Joshtika, the Simorgh is a part of Persian mythology, not Russian. Now, while that may be true, it's thought that the Simorgh was the inspiration for the Simorgl, a creature of Slavic mythology, and for those of you who are up on your history, the Slavs eventually became the Russians. Also, if that doesn't convince you, Articuno is ice type and Russia's known for being cold, yeah, that works too. Now that just leaves us with one more legendary Pokemon. The big one. The hook to this movie. The Pokemon that was featured on all the promotional merchandise and had his face plastered everywhere. Lugia. So, what does Lugia represent? Well, let's look at all the pieces. In the movie, Lugia tries to bring peace between the three superpowers, focuses on protecting innocent bystanders, and has a color palette of blue and white. In my opinion, this is enough evidence to say that in the movie, Lugia is supposed to be an allegory for the United Nations. Just think about it. The same way Lugia protects the people and keeps the three legendary birds from destroying each other, the United Nations fosters diplomatic relations between the three most powerful countries in the world. So, were the creators of Pokemon 2000, The Power of One, trying to warn us about the upcoming World War III? Probably not. First off, I highly doubt the legendary creatures were intended to represent any countries or international organizations. It's probably just because they needed some old gen legendaries to introduce a new gen one. Also, tying these birds to their countries is kind of a stretch. I mean, sure, Moltres could be the Feng Huang, but it's pretty obvious that that's more Ho-Oh and that Moltres is definitely a Western kind of phoenix. Also, Articuno's ties to Slavic mythology were entirely coincidental. If you look at the mythology, it's quite obvious that Articuno is supposed to be the Persian Simorg. Still, while I don't really think this theory is correct, it's really fun to view the movie under this lens. Shoot, if you have the movie, go ahead and pop it in your DVD player and see if you can see it yourself. You'll always be surprised what stories you can find when you read in between the lines. So, until then, good night, and hey, stay awesome.